Hi, I'm Natalia,
And I'm Leslie Marie,
and this is a We Are Fashionably Late podcast,
where we talk about the clothing we wear and the untold but very true stories about why we wear what we wear.
Hi.
Hi.
Ignore my sandwich. I threw it back there somewhere.
Poor little sandwich.
I know.
Ignore my soup.
Guys. Okay, so first off,
ASMR.
guys, holiday season is upon us. That means we have holiday snacks again.
Went to Sprouts this morning
Went to Sprouts this morning
for lunch.
So
for,
excited.
In the entrance, they had samples of that type of popcorn
And
the milk chocolate type of popcorn, because that's dark chocolate.
And then they also had
Pumpkin pie, which I don't like pumpkin pie, but I tasted it and I love that one.
Anyway, I'm so excited about this. I literally was telling Natalie, I was like, Natalie, I need to do this episode. Like,
Yeah.
I need to. So, this was one
And
of the first ones.
during the week of launch.
Yeah, literally, like, during the week of the
Episode coming out.
Yeah, the
Or
first. What are you talking about?
The film coming out.
Oh, I was talking about how we literally pitched this as one of the first videos for this season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, we're doing it the same, almost the same, because I feel like UK and like Mexico have already seen the movie.
Which I'm like, we go to Mexico to go see it. See it in Spanish, love it, cry it in Spanish, and then watch it in English and love it and cry
again.
all over again in English.
Anyways,
In
I'm so
all
excited.
languages.
Obviously, you know, Gladiator, not only do I love that first movie, which, yes, I know, I love it. It's weird to say that, but I do. And Natalie does too. But we also love Paul.
Paul Mescal.
We're so excited. Anyways, what are you wearing, Natalie, for the occasion?
A corduroy zip up. It's okay. It's technically like a sweater, but I just zipped it up because I'm wearing my work sweater underneath.
It's cute.
So I look like a man.
No, it's giving fall vibes. I really like it.
Sorry.
I really like it.
And I just have a little star necklace.
What about your sweater? I really like your cozy, comfy sweater.
This one?
Yeah.
This,
Is it just a crew neck?
It's underneath it. Oh
Yeah.
yes, this is my aloe gravel
Look
accolade.
at her. And then she has brown leggings. She's a runner. If you guys didn't know,
Yeah.
she a runner. She a track star. For
What are
me,
you wearing?
we already know what kind of shoes I'm a fan of at this current season.
You shouldn't even say.
In
You
my
know what?
life.
Just say from the top, from the bottom.
From the top up, I am wearing the last dinner party hoodie. We love concert merch. Just because it had like the little thingy here, I think
angel.
it felt a bit Roman. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then this leather jacket, it's a cropped brownish grayish leather jacket from Zara. Because I don't know, I think it's just giving Gladiator.
The colors.
Yeah.
We
like,
both went based off the colors.
if it was a vest, I feel like if I got away with like a mini skirt, but it's too cold,
Can we talk about that?
it would give Gladiator outfit.
The fact that it's cool. Like last week
It's
it was a little
freezing.
bit harder.
Freezing. I think that's a great segue into our
Sorry.
I'm just a girl.
really hungry.
What do you got?
Well, came all this way. Had to explain. Direct from Domingo.
Sabrina's in LA.
And who went? Marcelo.
Yes, he did.
And he went dressed up as Domingo.
Domingo.
And he literally, she just goes, "What do you have to say?" And he literally sings that whole song.
We love.
And I love it. She's like with the crowd.
She's with the
She's
times.
with everybody.
That also begs the question: is SNL actually getting funny now, or is it the writers that are catering to our kind of humor?
Or are we getting older? I think it has all to do with the writers. Not that before they weren't funny, but it just didn't apply to our generation.
Yeah.
Where now the writers are people of our generation and do humor
a lot
the
of
way that
pop
we understand.
culture things, yeah.
Like even they did about like the Oz, like supposedly auditions, like who auditioned for Oz. And Charlie XCX, it does Adele, but then she also does Troye Sivan, and then the other guy, I forgot his name, plays her.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because then Troye Sivan, you know, since they did Sweat, the tour Sweat, he put as his profile icon on Instagram the picture of her as Troye Sivan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was so funny. I love that.
I love the humor.
Like SNL's just getting like good, you know, and like especially now that they put it on TikTok. So then you see it, but then you want to see the full version of it.
So you go to the YouTube.
And
video.
then also Marcelo did Bad Bunny because also
Oh
Bad
yeah,
Bunny
I
was
saw
a part of
that.
that
He
thing.
was the one.
And I was like, wait, that's actually kind of
That's
good.
actually funny.
But yeah,
I think it's I don't know. I really I'm kind of liking SNL now. I'm just saying. I mean, it had its moments back then, but I feel like right now, currently,
it's
I'm
getting
of obsessed.
But it's funny because they're keeping some of the old cast still, and they're still like a part of it, and it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that Natalie finally caught up with, guys. If you know this, we do have a bit of an age gap. I didn't know Natalie never watched like the DCOM extra movies. Like I'm talking like the 13th Year, Quint, like all of these like movies, like
the girl, the space girl,
Xenon. Natalie had no. I've been wanting to show her like at least one movie a day. Yesterday, she also watched. Also, she had never seen Ice Princess.
No,
guys, we watched that yesterday, and we watched The Devil Wears Prada. Natalie had never watched it.
I've heard of it. I mean, I've seen clips of it and all that stuff, but I've never watched it.
Yeah,
because we weren't friends. So like,
well, I think because of the age difference, it was more noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day, I was like quoting Miranda, and Natalie was like, "Where's that from?" And I was like, "You have to watch this movie."
No one's ready.
Yeah.
Why is no one ready?
So now you could quote it.
I could quote
actually knowing where it's coming from.
And I could be like, do you know where that's from?
Do you know?
I think so, not.
Yeah. So if you guys have any movies that you think Natalie should be watching,
Let
put them
me
down
know.
below.
Let me know.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is our girl chat.
I'm just a girl.
Do you think you'll get
Also,
copyrighted for that?
Christina Aguilera.
Lara.
Sorry. I'm sorry. It's because I was a mid burp.
That makes it better.
Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Sabrina Carpenter and sang with her.
Day one. So
Day one.
What's next? Because I think
And
it's
I
4
was
days,
like,
right?
you know what I realized?
Yeah.
That like that's her mini her.
Yeah. We love.
That's so funny.
Also, did you watch Burlesque?
No.
Okay, because
I mean, I got the performance of it. But
we're not gonna talk about that because somebody that we know was a fan. Yeah, but you should watch the movie. I think it's a really good movie. That's another one you have to watch.
Yeah. You know, Thanksgiving's coming around.
Yes.
You know what we do Thanksgiving?
We binge watch
we're gonna
movies.
watch Harry Potter this one.
For both of us, I think most of the films we're watching
First time.
like all the way, like actually paying attention and not like
Yeah.
in and out. So
yeah.
All right, Quinny. Let's start with the history.
Just like Jay-Z said, no church in the wilds.
That's your theme song for this.
No church in the wild. What's a God to a non-believer?
You know,
I always remember Abbott, that one edit that they did.
There's a
about,
TikTok of it where it's this, and then the last person is
It's
Mr.
like,
Johnson.
What's a thing to do? So, yeah, you know the phrase, whatever. But then it's like, what's a God to a non-believer who don't believe? And it's Mr. Johnson.
Yeah. Speaking of relevant,
Paul Mescal.
oh, he's always relevant. The promo that they have been doing for the film has been insane right now, and I love the TikTok because it's literally just following Paul around.
Just him being,
just him going to Tokyo, getting ready.
You know, also that collab that they technically had with Ferrari's, Scuderia Ferrari. So like the boys went to the London premiere.
That was fun.
Thought that was fucking hilarious and amazing. I screamed.
Yeah, and I almost
also
cried.
they have like a little challenge that they do, C2. And Paul Mescal is going to interview them. So I just think
also,
that's funny.
they're going to be in Vegas.
They're going to be in Vegas.
We were so close to going, but we have other obligations. All right. So, let's start talking about the original film. For those of you who don't know what the first film is about, how it relates to this one, okay? The first film is about his father. There was always this
you don't
question.
know it's his father.
In the first one, there was always this question. It's like, is this is the boy his father? And it was obviously it is. And I was like, I knew it. Anyways, talk about it, Natalie. Talk about the film.
So, first and foremost, the Gladiator film was directed by Ridley Scott. It was released in 2000, literally the year that I was born.
Yeah.
Just go say that.
And you've seen that movie.
And I've seen that movie. So it's a more of like an epic historical drama in ancient Rome. There's a lot of things about the Colosseum. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
So we start in the beginning of the movie with Maximus being kind of the right-hand guy
to Marcus Aurelius,
who is like the king of the ruler.
And he was a real person.
And like he was his right-hand man.
Yes.
Not spoiling the plot, something happens that the guy, the son kills the Marcus Aurelius dude.
I love how you said not gonna spoil it. It literally spoils it.
Well, you said it.
No, I was just saying he takes it.
I was just saying something happens. Basically,
something unfair happens.
But because technically the throne wasn't going to go to the son. It was going to go to Maximus.
Yes.
Anyways.
Which is devastating.
All he wants
is to go home.
All his family, his farm.
Yeah.
His little farm.
Yeah.
And so then that happens, and the guy, the son, who is played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
His character, tells him basically he has to choose between, what he wants to do, but Maximus is loyal to his father. He knows that he's going to screw everything up for his father.
Marcus Aurelius.
So he prefers to leave.
Yeah.
But already, whether he would have decided to do it or not,
he sees him as a threat.
And he destroys that is near dear to his heart.
He destroys his family,
his home. He gets home and everything's just destroyed.
And he basically goes through this journey of kind of basically being left desolate. Nothing.
Being a slave, all this stuff. He's just, from being someone such a high hierarchy ranking in the military, everyone were loyal to him, to suddenly he being no one.
Which again, it also I think depicts the rise of the culture at the time for Rome and tension
that they're so then after that, in the second act, if you can say, you see Maximus get introduced to one of these characters who's like one of the leaders of the gladiator fighters type of thing.
And he owns gladiators.
And he owns the guy. He looks at the few guys and then just kind of buys them and then uses them to basically fight for who Joaquin Phoenix character is, for them to view and for his pleasure, whatever type of thing.
Yeah, because this is the thing. This is the Colosseum. This is what people do for entertainment.
Yes. So he's a part of the thing. But the thing is that because of him being such a great warrior, he is smarter than everyone, and he's doing
just a natural born leader.
He's not doing it to be I call the shots. He's doing it so everyone can survive and everyone follows his lead without him having to ask them.
In the first few fights he has a mask.
He has a mask. When he finally takes it off, because the Joaquin Phoenix guy is oh, I need to know who this great gladiator is.
Plot twist, he didn't die.
Trembling.
Because he thought he had died.
He didn't. So, plot twist, he didn't die, and so he's trembling, and now he wants to end him.
Yeah. So he's returned to Rome.
Yes.
He's actually seen in Rome. Yeah.
And all his old colleagues have heard that he's returned, and they come.
Because they want to help him get the throne.
And because he has saw him as a threat before and sees him as a threat now, he sends his best fighters to try to kill Maximus. But Maximus always outsmarts them.
Yeah, and then, ultimately, everybody who was loyal to Maximus in a way kind of dies or is endangered, meaning the guys who's Joaquin Phoenix's sister, right?
Yes.
Which is Paul Mescal's mom. Because she has a child. There's a question if it's her husband who had died, or because you see there's a little bit of romance there. You see there's a little bit of history there with them too.
Tension.
And so in the second one, it's been confirmed that obviously Paul Mescal is his son, so that kid was his son.
And it's not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. Watch the trailer.
But now
without spoiling the end, it's just such a very heartbreaking type of ending.
Yeah.
For the way he ended.
Yes. And I think it's also this thing of you see him as such a great warrior.
Yes.
And it's kind of the legacy that he leaves behind because his son, without knowing he's his son yet, is inspired by him.
Yes. It's always been, he always looked up to him.
Yeah.
And like, boy, that's your father. And then when his mother tells him, then we get the movie called Gladiator Roman numeral Dos.
After 24 years.
24 years.
24 years.
And that is where we get Paul Mescal.
Yes, we do.
We get Pedro Pascal. And we get Joseph Quinn.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington.
How did you not know his name?
I said, hold on, I was looking at all the faces. Denzel Washington.
You were looking at all. You were replaying the thing in your mind.
Denzel Washington. I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
But yeah, so basically themes about the movie are loyalty, honor, revenge, and then the corrupt influence of power, which I'm sure those themes in a way will also be included in Gladiator 2. These are my predictions because I have not seen it yet. But yes, I think the biggest takeaway or like the most memorable line is the "Are you entertained?"
and the
which again,
for those that didn't see the video, it's just us doing the thumbs down,
thumbs up, thumbs down,
thumb
which
down,
they do
lukewarm,
in order to see if they live or die.
Move us to our second topic.
Okay, I love this topic. Now we're gonna talk about the history of a gladiator, right? So now we talked about the film a little bit, prepping for the film, but I think it's also important to go back and talk about the history of it. You know, like what we know from the real life gladiators. So basically the origins, it was a tradition of combat that was originated from, I'm gonna say this wrong, Etruscans. Nallie's gonna put it right here.
Etruscans.
So he lived in Italy before the rise of Rome, and early on the gladiator games were called munera, which were typically a part of a funeral rite intended to honor the dead and appease the spirits. Kind of crazy. So that's like the lore of it, right? Like that's like kind of like the vibe. So that's why I think there's this death element to it. But in the early Roman period, we're talking 264 BC, Decimus, again, the names, I'm sorry about this. In honor of his deceased father, he kind of started the games, and they kind of kept growing over time, right? So again, it was this tradition that one of the kings or like someone important ended up doing, and then it kind of led to them becoming like more and more popularized. So then we had a few, so that's kind of like the lore of like how the games kind of started, right? And obviously we know that they used slaves, and in order to also like for them to have the opportunity to be free if they won, that's also another thing. A lot of them were also like warriors, that maybe like were captured in battle and stuff like that. And so the types of gladiators themselves, though, depending on what they wore, it was kind of really interesting, right? So again, like I said, we had prisoners of war, we had slaves, and we had condemned criminals. So they all kind of volunteered in a way, or they were volunteered by whoever owned them, for fame, for money, or for a chance of freedom, right? They were promised that, but then really the person who was the owner was the one that would kind of control them, get the money. Receive the
gaining the winnings of it.
The winnings. So there was 4 types of
watch Gladiator for more information.
So there was 4 types of soldiers, right? We had the Murmillo, who was armed with a sword, aka the gladius, and a rectangle shield, which was the scrutinum. That sounds funny. And a helmet, which was adorned with a fish crest, right? So that's one type of gladiator. The next one is the Thrax, or the Thracian. Again, I'm so sorry about these names. Well, my pronunciation.
She might be butchering them, but I would do them worse. So it's better her than me. Which one do you want?
So they had a wielded like curved sword, which is called the Sika, and a smaller shield. And then they wore a distinctive helmet that had the griffin motif, right? So that's another kind of gladiator. And it was very much like by what they wore or what swords they had. So the third one is the Retieras, who fought with the trident, not the gum, and a net that was like lightly armored. So it basically was more about the agility and the speed of this one. Of this one gladiator. Again, I kind of tried to find it. I'm pretty sure they had a sword, but they don't really mention what sword because it wasn't specific to what they wore.
Yeah.
Then we have the secutor, which they were trained to fight, and they had like this rounded helmet that kind of avoided them from being caught in a net, because again, like these games, like some of them were filled with water, they were filled with animals like lions and stuff like that. They also kind of fought against each other, and so it was
depending on the setting that they gave them. Fight.
Yeah, also like the type of event that they were doing.
Can we also talk about how technically like this is something that actually happened in history, but when it comes to the movie itself in Gladiator, you just see it as a helmet, you just see it as an armor, but they are really like, they had to do their research to make sure that the costume design and the detail was accurate to it. And so, like that's interesting.
I feel like keeping like this in mind, and obviously if you kind of go further into design and stuff like that, you'll kind of see the gladiators, and then it'll kind of give you a more perspective when you're watching the film, because again, yes, they did do their like history for the film outfits, right, for the costumes, and so you'll kind of notice like, oh, that's why they were wearing that, or that's why so for the venues, right, we had the most famous amphitheater. Not only is this where Hilary Duff
hey now this is my dream,
I can never live that down. Also not where One Direction performed. Not only where One Direction performed,
but where Niall in the This Is Us fucking film says Gladiator.
Yep. So the Colosseum in Rome is very popular. It would hold up to 50,000 spectators, which this was huge back then, right?
They had actually, sorry to cut you off, they didn't, I don't know what the full news is, but this week they were saying something about the Colosseum. I don't know if they were like, not remodeling it, but like fixing it up or something like that. I don't know what they were doing.
I think I heard that they might reopen
there we go, or something like
for
that.
Tours.
And
which I think would be so cool.
One Direction's coming back,
which would be so cool and interesting. I knew you were gonna go there. Your ADHD brain. Sorry. Okay, so that was one of the most notable arenas, but there were others that were kind of smaller. Again, it was very much like for whoever was like the emperor at the time.
Who arranged the fights.
The fights, So again, they were organized by wealthy sponsors, usually politicians who were seeking public favor. So they'd kind of do it in the sense of like invite the people, you know? Yeah. And again, kind of like the seating arrangement was like the most like wealthy, popular people were closest to it. Yes. And then the people of less wealth were kind of all the way in the nosebleeds. And so it was kind of organized that way. And then we also had like the popularity of the games in the Roman Empire were also an opportunity to like, for those who didn't come from wealth and didn't have like a political agenda, it was almost to see like the bravery and the skill up front of like these like hunters and warriors and, you know, stuff like this. So I think they were just like intrigued by the dramatics of it. It's kind of like, now I would compare it to like a UFC fight or something like that, right? So I think we kind of have this image in our head of like, I can't believe they would do that, and they would like go till the death. And it's like, yet we watch like the UFC. They're literally bloody, broken nose, and some of them, you know, like get intense. So we do have that part of the history. But yeah, a lot of them, like once it started declining, gladiators still had like this lasting legacy in Western cultures, which again goes back to the film, goes back to us kind of watching it. I think it's just like that idea of like, everyone thinks about the Roman Empire, and that's one of the things in the Roman Empire that kind of intrigued people.
Yeah.
But yeah, So that's pretty much the history of
And
it.
outfits.
In outfits.
So the gladiators.
The types of gladiators, the kind of spectators that would go, and then also just like the venue itself. A lot of it, though, I think once you research more into actual Roman history, you'll kind of see the underlining of like the politics behind it, which was huge.
And the reasoning.
Behind it, which again, if you watch the Gladiator, like you don't have to like go into all the politics of Rome, but you will see like some of the, you know, the things.
Okay, so the typical gladiator outfit that was designed, this was designed for them to provide both protection and mobility, because
like more in depth, right, to like a traditional gladiator.
to a traditional gladiator, mostly because I mean the film does a little part of it, but we don't actually know how intense these were, but as well like the setting has a lot to do in place and stuff like that. So their armor or their outfit that they were wearing is very important to you know, they don't want them to lose because they want to win, the whoever was in charge, but also like what were they wearing? You know, this is a who, what, where situation. So the basic components is the helmet. I will write the name here. I will not try to butcher it. They varied in style depending on the type of gladiator,
which I mentioned before.
They had like crescents, visors, decorations. Again, it just depends on the type of gladiator. I feel like also the ranking that the people would give them as a gladiator, if they were like the most ones that always had the most winnings,
and
so they were
who
coming
their owner or
and
sponsor
who their owner
were.
was, their sponsor was. So you know, it just depends on what motif and what little crescent they add onto them. The second thing is the body armor. We have three. We have one that starts with an M, which is manica. It's just a protective sleeve that's worn on the sword arm, that's just made of like the leather and the metal segments, again to protect their arm, but again, like it's just a part.
It's basically a long sleeve.
It's basically a long sleeve. Like go buy a little long sleeve from Target and it's just that. It's just not leather.
And then we have the ochria,
which is metal greaves. What is that word?
Greaves
worn on now the leg. So these are like the paddings. You know, like if you play volleyball or football, you have the paddings. This is their paddings. But it's made of metal.
Then you have the cuirass.
Which was made of metal or hardened leather to protect their chest. Through many types of like.
So it's basically for like their torso. It's kind of just like that piece here.
So now we're focusing on this part that they got to protect. And then we got their shields. So again, depended on the gladiator class, the one wherever they were. So whether they would get either a large rectangular shield, a circle one, a smaller one. You know, it just depends again of the where they rank them with their owner and who their owner / sponsor was. Some of the weapons that they used kind of varied. So they either had swords, they had nets, they had daggers, they had tridents, not the gum.
Do you think, low-key, do you think this is why they named the gum trident that? Because they were like the Roman Empire or something? I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. Some names are like the Nike. Something had to do with Roman, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are influenced by that, but they don't, like, we don't know.
We don't know it. Yeah. So the choice of the weapon was specific to their fighting style and the role that they were. Again back to the type of the gladiator. And then we have loincloth, whatever she said. This is a basic garment that's worn around their hips. Often had like a wide belt.
It's like the belt piece. The skirt piece.
The little skirt, little twirl. So this was for additional protection and to secure
the gladiator,
the thing,
and like the armor.
And then we'll explain more on the different levels of, like in our Zion, of the gladiators and what each one wore.
Because there's like there's so many specifics per item that I think it would take like a whole hour for us to discuss. But really, like, on the Zine, it'll have it.
Be more depth. Or, you know, go watch Paul Mescal on the big screen.
Gladiator 2.
And they'll be like, oh my god, that's the Triance.
That's the loincloth.
That's the Manica. That's the... Yeah. And they'd be like, oh my god, we are fashionably late.
See, we're preparing you for when you're watching
We are educating you. We're your spark notes.
If you go with, like, men to watch this...
Be like, do you know that's the Manica?
Yeah, like, you can girl-splain it to them.
Trident.
Be like, oh my gosh, that's the trident.
Do you know they're wearing the lion cloth?
Loin. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Now let's take it to the fashion world, right? Yeah. Where do we see the gladiator influences on the runway?
On the runway.
And so a lot of collections have been inspired by Roman history, but when it comes to specifics of gladiator, which are the components Natalie talked about, right? Like the helmet and the swords and stuff like that, it also blends with ancient Roman elements.
I thought you were going to say, and it blends in.
Natalie, I really... Okay, the first collection that comes to mind is the Spring and Summer collection by Alexander McQueen in 2010, right? Plato's Atlantis. Sorry, I don't want to get this wrong.
Do you know about Pluto? Sorry, go.
So it included the gladiator influences and mostly it featured in the intricate armor pieces that he like kind of had. So it was very much about the silhouettes, very much about the metallic details. So it really was reminiscent of gladiator armor, and that was the highlighting point. It was the armor itself. Then we have Versace 2012, which is the fall and winter collection. This one showcased more of a warrior princess type of vibe. And so there was heavy use of leather, of metal, and of chainmail like inspired fabrics. And so this was almost, again, back to the gladiator gear itself, just a feminine take on it. So like a warrior. So think like Wonder Woman type of vibe, you know? Then we have Balmain, Spring Summer 2018, and Olivier, I can never pronounce his last name. I'm so sad. Yeah.
Roasting?
Something like, it's because it's French, so I don't want to say it wrong. That sounds Spanish. Olivier, the gladiator themes that were in that collection were very much the metallic dresses and the structure of those garments. So it was all on the shoulders, really.
You know what Pedro Pascal's wearing in that trailer?
Kind of, yeah. So it's very much about the heavy armor on the shoulders, and then it also had like those silhouettes, and it had gold and silver tones. I think that's also another thing. Like these garments or these like items were inspired by that, and in ancient Rome obviously it was like actual gold, you know. And so the other one that we have is Givenchy Spring Summer 2014. This one displayed more of like the gladiator sandals, but it was kind of a juxtaposition with the ethereal, like flowy kind of skirts and dresses and gowns. And so there was this mixture of delicate and like strong, you know. So it was kind of like a gladiator, but then also like the princess vibe, like ethereal type of thing. So it was like basically like the opposites attract kind of vibe. Yeah. Which that collection is so beautiful because of that. I think because it has a mixture of both, and you see the gladiator elements or like the more strong elements mixed in with both. And so I think it's really cool that you see like that duality of the gladiator attire. And then the other one that we have is Chanel 2018 with Karl Lagerfeld's collection. This one was really reminiscent of ancient Rome and gladiators, and it had the detailing like elements of like metallic fabrics. You also had like this like grandeur of Roman armor, which I think that's also like the biggest thing too, because it also was reminiscent of like the soldiers too. So it kind of had both elements of gladiator, but then also of a soldier. Then we have Jean Paul Gaultier 2007 Spring and Summer collection. So for that specific collection, it was more of like the warrior like vibe, right? And so it was very heavy with the leather belts. It was also like had leather harnesses, and it had like basically the beginnings of like the structured corsets, which again, it's so nice to see kind of like that play of like a feminine item get this kind of very like
elements of like a very like fierce type of like
very
warrior,
like badass, you know,
like bitch on the side.
Like I'm a gladiator.
Like I'm a gladiator.
Actually, no, I would
Wonder
be scared.
Woman. I'd be like,
then we have Valentino, Spring Summer 2019, and then this one featured again powerful pieces, right? And it included the strappy sandals, the leather accents, but it had also capes, which I think there was like obviously you'll kind of see in the film, but like the people who were leaders, they kind of had these like royal, like long,
a lot of embellishments, and like the more meant they were better.
The higher status. And then so it was just like the grandeur and the drama of what it was like for these Roman leaders back then that I think highlights a lot of it. Which again, gladiators in a way were like the slaves were like the bottom, and like these like I don't know, like I guess like the leaders were very much obviously on top. And so it's kind of crazy to see how both of them had similar garments that we now include into collections. Yeah. So I think
that we incorporate.
That's interesting. But yeah, those are a few of the collections. Again, on the Zine we'll have like way more
things that we missed.
I'm so excited about
in general, go watch the film.
We're gonna go watch it.
Technically there's a double release. We have, or in general we have on like in movies, we're gonna get the Gladiator and Oz out.
So we're
Wicked,
also
sorry. Wicked. So, you know, they said it was a something like that.
It's basically like the Barbenheimer
but
vibe.
It's this. You know.
So, you know, you're also going to get a double release.
Getting a double release. Did we know that they were coming out the same date? No, but this was planned for us to actually take it out.
Yeah, because we wanted to do both of those movies.
Both of those movies. And kudos to you.
Thank
I'm watching Wicked for the king himself, Winston, but, you know.
Yeah, and then I'm watching Gladiator for the king himself,
Paul Mescal. Which I had told Leslie before we wrap this up. I said, I feel like if they wouldn't have done Harry wrong, he would have come out in Gladiator.
Imagine.
Just saying. Because he did amazing in Dunkirk.
Yeah, I'm excited.
As a fan and in general. But I'm excited.
I know Natalie talks about Harry Styles in every episode, as she should. But I'm excited to see the actual
about my brother
film. I'm excited to see the actual film. I think
after 24 years.
I think also because I don't know, that movie means so much to me. It was like one of like Dad's favorite, and so kind of like going and seeing it now, and now it's about the son, and kind of like seeing that whole storyline, how it's gonna play out. Also, like the first Gladiator did so well and it got awards, so I'm also intrigued to see how well this one does too, because we know there's amazing actors. Ridley Scott is great, and so I'm intrigued to see
how it goes.
Yeah, so let us know if you guys are gonna go watch it. If you watched it, what was your favorite part? If you guys noticed any of the things we talked about, let us know.
Girl-splain to those guys that you might go watch with them.
Girl-splain.
And then we'll give you guys our little review after we watch it. We're gonna go watch it opening night. So we love you guys.
Love you.
And we will see you very, very soon.
Literally.
Ready?
Bye.
Hey, thank you guys so much for listening. Please don't forget to leave us a review and to share this podcast with your loved ones, acquaintances, and really just anybody and everybody who will listen.
We'll be releasing new episodes every Wednesday. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at We Are Fashionably Late with 2 E's at the end, and at The Digitals Podcast on YouTube for more behind the scenes content. Sending you lots of love and virtual hugs. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Bye.